Well, everybody, welcome to the Longhorn Podcast, the most informative and greatest Longhorn podcast of all time. Marcus, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good today, Danny. I hope you had a good Thanksgiving.
I had a great Thanksgiving, but there's more important things right now. Marcus, Charlie Strong is out. Tom Herman is in. A lot of drama around the campus, and today we have a special guest. Red McCombs is going to be on the show today.
Red is back in the studio.
Billionaire donor Red McCombs.
Okay.
Red is back in the studio. Right now, he is in the other booth eating some Texas toast with a cowboy hat on.
Sounds like him.
He's here, though. He's drinking some iced tea, maybe some lemonade, too. Mint julep on top of that. But, yeah, he's going to be in later today. But, Marcus, so much chaos. And I just want to start by recapping this season. In your opinion, was it a complete failure, 2016, for the Longhorns?
Yeah, I mean, I think by any measure, it was a failure of a season. I mean, unless okay, actually, let's take a look at some silver linings here. Okay, so one big sort of silver lining out of this season of UT football is Deontay Foreman, right? Second player in University of Texas history to rush for 2,000 yards in a season, a huge accomplishment and a legitimate Heisman contender. Now, I think that's obviously overshadowed if he decides to declare for the NFL draft in the offseason, which he is eligible to do. So that's kind of to be determined. But I think, him solidifying himself as one of, if not the best running back in college football is a huge plus. Everything else I'm going to say was not great. I think you could make the case, though. You could make the argument that a worse outcome would have been like a 500 record with a bowl loss. And then it's sort of, okay, now what happens to Charlie? Right? Like, at least in this case, it was clear what the next step was.
Yeah, for sure. And, getting Deontay, that 1,000 rushing yards, it only took playing him 52 snaps a game. Am I right?
Yeah. Well,
52.
That's why he gets paid. That's why he gets paid, Danny. That's
why he gets paid the big bucks.
That's why he's paid handsomely.
Marcus, if Deontay decides to leave us and provide for his young child, is he a dirty, filthy, rotten traitor?
No. He's not.
Really? He's not a dirty, filthy, rotten traitor. But Marcus, we need him to come back to help us win championships.
Yeah, and obviously we would love to have Dante back next year. But listen, I mean, he to your point, I mean, he took a lot of abuse this year. And this is a tough game they play, and he does have a family that he needs to provide for. And I think anybody that kind of takes the Nick Saban approach here, where it's just like, I mean, we would have loved for him to stay, but he had to be a selfish asshole and leave. But that's his decision, all due respect. I think that's a bullshit. I think that's a bullshit attitude, and I think that's a bullshit thing to put on a young man who's literally puts his body on the line the way he did every game. So, you can't say that UT lost from lack of effort on his part. He showed up every day despite the record. So I think he's owed our support. It's true, he did.
And we've got, some people forget about Chris Warren, who was unbelievable last season. Next question. Shane Buechele, okay, what a promising beginning to the season. But towards the last few games, it seemed to me like he played like a turd. What are your thoughts?
Listen, I think I'm pretty happy with Shane Buechele as a freshman quarterback. He comes out for his first career start in college football and beats a number 10 ranked Notre Dame. Now, granted, Notre Dame turned out to not be who everybody thought they were preseason, but it's a huge
turd as well.
Right. It's a huge stage. And he had, he had some real flashes of promise, and I am cautiously optimistic that he could be the quarterback for the next 3 seasons at the University of Texas.
I've heard that he can't throw the ball over the middle, and that's why they were throwing the ball down the sideline so much, that he's not tall enough. Do you think that's true? Or is that just bad play calling?
Listen, smarter men than me may know the answer to that question. And maybe that's true, and maybe that's going to be a limiter for him. But, I'm like, well, he's 18. Yeah. Maybe he's just a child, and he will learn how to, make those throws that today may give him fits. Obviously, there are plenty of shorter stature quarterbacks that have no problem throwing over the middle. And, furthermore, again, he's 18 years old. Like he could easily grow another 2 inches before he leaves college. I mean, he's literally a growing boy. So, let's give him a chance here.
He looks like a child out there. And I also think he was hamstrung by Sterling Gilbert's almost bizarre play calling in the last few games of this season, right? I mean, they started out so promising, but it seemed to me as though we had the playbook from Blitz. We had DeBomb, streams, we had the Hail Mary, and Blizzard. Those were pretty much it was ridiculous. It was every play. It was just like have a fast guy run up the side, or just give it to Dante Foreman and have him hammer his body for 30 straight minutes.
Yeah. Danny,
I was unimpressed at the end.
You sound incredulous, but that's a really good way to win a blitz game. So,
I'm really good at blitz.
Maybe get off your high horse, because I've won a lot of blitz games with the strategy you just outlined. So who's stupid now?
Well, I'm not sure who's stupid, and we will see about that when we have our annual blitz game every year. But, Marcus, I want to move on. I mean, on the subject of quarterbacks, there was we all know that Tom Herman's been hired, and there was some, I'm going to say, juicy rumors that A&M transfer now at by way of Houston. He sat out a year. Kyle Allen, former 5-star recruit, might come with Tom Herman. Now, if that happens, because he's eligible for transfer as a graduate student, he'd have 2 years of eligibility. We would have Kyle Allen, who's older, Shane Buechele, Gerard Hurd, who we forget is still on the roster and would fit in Tom Herman's power spread offense. He moved to wide receiver this year, but he beat Oklahoma last year. He's very good. He was a 5-star recruit. He was right behind Deshaun Watson. We've got them. Then we've also got Sam Ehlinger, who I think is a 5-star recruit as well. That's 4 5-star recruits on campus. Creates a crazy situation. Do you think Buechele keeps the job?
Maybe not. And I think that's sort of the good. Like, listen, if Shane Buechele is the quarterback next year, I'm okay with that. I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah.
I think we can have a winning record and go to a bowl game with Shane Buechele under center next year, right? So, sure. And I think frankly, like, that is year one gonna be, the measure of success here. So I think that's doable. But hey, like, if somebody comes in and wins the job, great. I mean, I'm not listen, I'm not friends with Shane Buechele. I'm not like, man, I hope my boy Shane pulls it off in the offseason and wins the starting job. I want the best player in there. So if somebody, hey, and listen, we all make mistakes. All right. I don't know much about Kyle Allen. Obviously, he made a really dumb decision when he was 17 and he went to A&M. And, is that forgivable? That's he has to look himself in the mirror every morning and every night before he goes to sleep. So
he did leave.
Well, exactly. And that's my point, is that even the biggest idiots in the world, the dumbest people on the planet, deserve a second chance, especially if they can win a bowl game at University of Texas.
One time, Marcus, I was at Kyle Field watching UT play A&M. For those of you that are young, they used to do that. And I was called a faggot more times than I've ever been called a faggot in my life. I was actually at one point walking out of the stadium, and a man that was maybe 55, and he was in full hunting gear, which, I knew things weren't going to go well for me. But I had a UT flag on, and he just stopped me, and he said, "Boo-hoo, faggot." And I was like, I'm 19. I'm a kid.
Did you feel like you had been sort of assaulted in a way?
I knew. No, I'd mentally. Well, yeah, but I had mentally prepared myself going in. I wore a lot of Zara at the time, so there was a lot of zippers and just zippers everywhere. But enough about that, Marcus.
Yeah, I don't want to blame the victim. I don't want to blame the victim, but also
exactly
make better decisions. I was at the Cal game. So I was in Berkeley at the Cal game, which, again, these were sort of heady times of the season.
I'm going to say you would think an open-minded community.
Well, yeah, okay, so yeah, you have certain expectations around what the Cal student how they might carry themselves, and certainly threatening doesn't really come to mind, right? Like the toughest guy I ever saw come out of Cal was Marshawn Lynch, and he seems like pretty chill. Like he doesn't really seem like he wants to start any trouble, So
he seems relaxed.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not like super worried about it. But these are heady times. We think, man, we're gonna go in, we're gonna roll these guys. This is gonna be awesome. This is gonna be great, right? And obviously that's not what happened. And so we lose. I'm leaving the stadium, and the stadium's surrounded by sort of student housing. And I am just, they are raining down insults on our head. Just like every fucking Berkeley student has a balcony, I guess. And so they're all standing on their balconies and this is what really stuck. This one stuck with me. One young gentleman screams, "We're not even a football school. We're a bunch of nerds, and we still beat you." And he was so on the nose. It was so obviously true what he was saying.
Yeah.
But all I could do is feel bad for myself at that point. I couldn't even be mad at him because he was so right.
He was right.
So that happened. That's a personal personal toll that this season took on me.
You were personally screamed at, and do you blame Charlie Strong for that?
The buck has to stop somewhere. Blame must be assigned, and he's at the top of that food chain. So yeah, I do blame Charlie Strong for that.
I kind of, I was reading a good op-ed today, and the guy was talking about how the values and all that, and the recruiting was great. Charlie Strong did bring in some fantastic players, but he made just crazy game decisions. It would just be like 4th and 15. They'd run the ball, on their own 30, and you just be like, I don't understand, and I wanted to understand. I will say that when he took over the defense, they did get a lot better. He's a good defensive coordinator.
Would you say, Danny, is it fair to say that Charlie Strong is more of a position coach? Are you going to join our studio guest, Red McCombs, in his assessment of Charlie Strong?
Here's the thing, Marcus. I don't want to speak for Red, who is still eating Texas toast right now.
He can put down a lot of that stuff. Yep.
He's putting the butter on himself. He's garlic salting it himself. That was actually on his writer, was butter and garlic salt.
He's a simple man,
but he's a man of simple taste. As he likes to say it, he's the working man's billionaire. It was just a bad start at him for UT. I don't think that people wanted him there. I heard that the last AD, what was it, Mike Perrin or whatever, he hired him without consulting the boosters, which was going to piss them off. I don't know. And also he tried to install some bullshit pro-style offense in the Big 12, which is retarded, to be honest with you. I don't know.
I'm curious. What is this booster, like, without consulting the boosters? That's like,
Yeah, isn't it fucked up? It's
It's
fucking weird.
this is like the most ridiculous. It's like I don't know. It's like Maoist China. It's like, yeah, he didn't consult the party elites, and now he's actually tied up to the beach waiting for high tide to come and drown him slowly. It's crazy to me.
It is crazy. It is crazy. But that's the thing is you have a bunch of like cartoonish oil tycoons, guys that wear like white suits with 10-gallon hats, and these are a bunch of billionaire Texas oil men, and they're gonna get what they want. I mean they probably give us a fuck ton of money. I don't know.
Right.
But that's the thing. That's the thing is, Marcus, do you think that just because you donate an absurd amount of money to the University of Texas, should you have a say? Like, should there be an open door policy? Because to me, I don't think so. I think you might just fuck things up.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, I do not think that deciding to support the program financially entitles you to like input on hiring and play calling and personnel decisions. I think that's dangerous and a really unsettling on the nose analogy of our political system, which I guess it kind of makes sense.
I wouldn't mind if Matthew McConaughey was the one that had a say. I wouldn't mind that, but because he gives great inspirational speeches. But they just seem like these dark. It seems like if you're the coach of University of Texas, some clear hologram like the Emperor in Star Wars shows up, and you just have to talk to a bunch of cloaked billionaires.
Yeah.
Put your helmet back on.
What if Donald Trump was a UT booster?
He probably is. What's funny about Donald Trump and Big 12 football? Mike Leach, if you remember, when he was the coach at Texas Tech, before UT and Tech had one of those huge games in the Colt McCoy era, Mike Leach was in New York with his family, and he just went to Trump Tower and was like, hey, I'm a college football coach. I want to meet Donald Trump. And Donald Trump let him come up, and they became friends. And Donald Trump, before that game, had a televised pep talk where he was like, Mike Leach, I know you've got the capabilities. I know you can do it. Now go out there and beat Texas, which makes me hate him more.
Yeah.
Because he's a Tech supporter.
Yeah, no, I think that's good to know that Trump supports Texas Tech. Yeah, that's good. That's good to know. And I think my guess is that we'll be able to get him on. I know he's busy with the transition and with sort of appointments and ignoring his intelligence briefings, but I think he's going to make time to come on the show later in the season. So we can kind of ask him about that incident up front and see if he changes his tune. We'll see. Yeah.
Well, the fact that the red is here, I think bodes well for getting other billionaires on in the future. But yes, talking about, you bring up a good word, transition team,
right?
Which is what we're dealing with right now. Charlie Strong has bit the dust. He's out. He and his bindle. He's walking down the street. He's homeless and impoverished, and he only got $10 million to leave Austin. So now we're on to Tom Herman. Marcus, was he the right hire?
Ask me in 3 years. Right. I mean, he's certainly an expensive hire. I mean, he's gonna make $5.5 million up front, escalating to $6 million in the latter part of his 5-year deal. We've got to pay $2.7 million to Houston to get him out of his contract. He's obviously got a really strong record at Houston and what he's done there, and his record against top 10 teams is legitimately very impressive. I think he's won 6 straight against, maybe it was ranked, maybe just ranked teams. So he seems to be able to coach his teams up to the moment. But you could say similar things about Charlie Strong at Louisville. I think the difference here is Tom Herman just he seems to at least have the Texas roots. right? He's
got a connection.
As you were saying earlier, he kind of shouts out specific high school coaches and schools and areas, and hopefully he will be able to tap in that talent. But again, and this is what kind of vexes, I think, me and probably a lot of other people about Charlie Strong, is it wasn't a recruiting issue. It wasn't that Charlie couldn't get good players from Texas, or was ignoring the bounty in front of him. He got great players to come to Texas. He just couldn't win with them. And so I think what'll be really interesting is to see if it like what Tom Herman should be able to answer is like, was this really an X's and O's and culture, or whatever you want to call it? Was this a football issue that Charlie Strong brought to Texas, or is there something more systemic happening in the program that is breaking things down? Like, is there, or do the boosters have too much influence? Is there too much noise? Is this just a big echo chamber, or was Charlie Strong just not really the coach that we kind of thought he would be? And Tom Herman, will get us closer to answering that.
Well, Marcus, I think that we've kind of covered many topics that we needed to for today. I think it's kind of time for us to bring in our guest, Red McCombs.
Yeah, let's. Let's bring him out, Red. Red, if you just want to, if you want to put on those.
Ready there?
Put on those headphones.
Yeah, Red. Yeah, Red. Yeah, you just put on the headphones. Yeah,
Oh, sorry. Hello, boys. This is Mr. McCombs.
Mr. McCombs, it's such an honor to have you on the show.
Yeah, please do refer to me as Mr. McCombs henceforth. Red is
Mr.
my
McCombs,
Christian name, and Danny, I don't really know if I want you saying it at this point.
I have a quote from you. Life is about the 3 T's: Texas, Texas toast, and Texas football. Would you say that's how you still live your life?
I mean, if not evidenced by my consumption of Texas toast in your very studio and my appearance on the University of Texas podcast, the most popular in my great state, I think don't ask stupid fucking questions, Danny. I mean, I think it's part of my language, but let's not be glib.
Absolutely, sir. I'm sorry. I mean, Mr. McCombs. Mr. McCombs, you're a billionaire, and we were just talking about this. When you become a billionaire, let me first say there's been some criticism that the boosters at UT have too much power and too much influence on the games. Mr. McCombs, do you think that because you're a billionaire, you should have a say in most situations?
Obviously. I mean, of course I do. It's my ability to generate vast sums of money through nothing but my own sheer force of will and guile, I think proves my value in many a diverse situation, and that should not and will not be limited to the innermost sanctum of the coach's decision rooms at the University of Texas. Absolutely.
Mr. McCombs, I've heard that you're a great friend of T. Boone Pickens, another billionaire who's a big 12 guy. Yeah, he's a genius. That's what we all know him to be. And I've heard that you two play a game called Blackjack Pickens style, and I was wondering, what is that?
It's an understandable question from somebody of your stature. Danny, Blackjack Pickens style is simply a variation of blackjack where the minimum bet is $1 billion.
I guess we're just in slightly different income brackets. I mean, having the top-rated Longhorn podcast in the nation, it brings in some money, but certainly not the kind that you're used to. And hopefully one day, sir, there will be a seat for me at the table of Pickens Blackjack.
Well, life is a zero-sum game, Daniel. That's how I view it. And so, frankly, I take what you said as a direct threat to myself. When I was a young boy, one of my first jobs was as a paper delivery boy. And I realized that I could actually sell these papers to increase not only my income, but the circulation of the paper. I proceeded to murder all the other paper boys so that I could take over the route. Because you see, simply,
oh my God,
the more routes you have, the more opportunity you have to make money. And so when you talk about generating your own money, that could be taken out of mine.
Mr. McCombs, I understand, and you know what, sir? Why don't we? I know that money is a big thing to you, but let's talk about UT football. Let's talk about something that you love.
Indeed.
You you like to have a say. You like to have a say in the in the team's matters. How much were you involved in Tom Herman's hire?
I'm Danny. I obviously, I mean, as a booster, have no formal, way to exert influence over any kind of decision making or hiring, and I respect greatly the athletic director of Texas and his team in making this decision. I did facilitate the conversation by flying Tom Herman in my burnt orange G5 down from Houston to Austin. I did put him up at a hotel. I did guarantee his salary out of my own bank account just to make the matter a little more simple. And I did personally take off Charlie Strong's nameplate from his desk and replace it with Tom Herman. My whatever influence I had was very limited, very, very limited.
That's what I thought. You just sort of, I guess, put the icing on the cake, which is unfortunately a direct quote from Charlie Strong. Now, I know that you've had some, pun intended, strong opinions on him, and I just want to bring up another area of, I would say, some criticism. Many people have said that you and other boosters have had the entire time a racial bias towards Mr. Strong, and that perhaps influenced the way he was treated at the university. What do you say to those critics?
I honestly, it's hard for me to even understand the criticism, if that makes sense. They use these words, racial bias, and micro aggression was one I heard recently. And I simply,
I don't understand that.
I don't know. I can't speak to it. One thing I say all the time, Danny, I've said it on your show before, is it's just a little saying of mine. You made old red turn red. And I think that right there, I mean, I'm essentially comparing myself to an engine. And I don't think anybody who's
sir,
racist...
Actually, these days, I'm just sorry, sir, but these days the word engine is, I would say, unacceptable. We would say
a redskin, if you so please, a brave, perhaps. I don't know, whatever liberal, hullabaloo you're raising now, Danny. I mean, you
again. We'll say Native American, but we can just continue. So go on. So it made you red as a red.
Well, yeah, you made old red turn red, and I simply don't understand the accusations being levied at me, Danny. I don't get it.
I saw that you said that he was just better suited to be a coordinator, and I think some people thought that maybe you were insinuating that there was some deficiencies due to his being black.
And which part of your statement is objectionable?
Well, I guess with that, we're just gonna, everyone, Red McCombs, everyone. Thank you so much for your time, sir.
I am gonna take some of that Texas toast with me to go, if that's okay.
Absolutely, sir. The Texas toast is all yours. So, Marcus, some harsh words. I would say almost some painful words from Red McCombs. He's a man from a different era, to say the least.
Yeah. No, I mean,
First of all, it's always a pleasure to have Mr. McCombs, not Red as he's asked us not to call him.
An icon.
He's an icon. I mean, he's a
simple man's
legend.
billionaire.
Yeah, I mean, he's a one-man industry. So always great to have him. And I did personally, I don't know if it was the way he was sweating when he was eating all that Texas toast or just a certain strain in his voice, but there did seem to be some sadness, in him. And part of me has to wonder, is he not a little sad that Charlie Strong's gone? Is he?
I don't think he is.
You don't
I
think so?
the answer to that is no. I think he's elated and over the moon and as happy as a red snapper in the Gulf, as he told me.
Right. He's so colorful. I mean, not in that way, but obviously,
yeah. He's so that about does it for this episode. Next week we have Coach Taylor from Friday Night Lights, which is very exciting. You excited about that, Marcus?
Yeah, I'm really excited to have him on the show. It's going to be cool.
He's a man of exceptional character and someone I think that will offer invaluable insight into the transition that is happening right now with the Texas Longhorns. So next week we'll talk about the college football playoffs. What we'll assess what Tom Herman has done so far and continue the conversation on the quarterback situation. So Marcus, thank you very much for your time. The Longhorn Podcast comes out weekly, every Tuesday, and we discuss all the hard-hitting issues in Longhorn Nation. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks for listening, guys.